DC here. Hi, guys and gals. Well, I hope that you're all well. Today it's Sunday afternoon, and it is 10 to 2 in the afternoon. So, yeah. Well, it's been a pretty standard Sunday up to now. Went to church in the morning, and I was the cameraman, which meant that got home, edited the video, and sent it off to one of the pastors who will upload it to the church YouTube channel. So yeah, up to now that's been pretty much it for today. We ate leftover pot roast that I made yesterday. Instant pot, of course. It was really good. Yeah, that was nice. It's one of these weekends where we had the kids and didn't have the kids. I mean, they weren't actually over for a meal because they had, well, birthday parties with cousins and stuff like that on one side of the family over there. So they came over for a quick visit. Then in the afternoon had the other son, so second son of DC, came over with his partner, and they had coffee with us, and coffee and dessert, and it was nice, nice, relatively quiet, but that's okay every now and then. It is. Yeah. I was thinking on the other day, I don't know how it came to that, but I had a chat with somebody not too long ago about home ownership and the difference between living in your own home and living in an apartment and so on. And I mean, I've done both. And as a child, we were brought up in a small house. I was going to say it wasn't a big house, but over there in Canada at the time, I mean, we had a lot of land. We just had a very small house, but we had a lot of land, and but we were in a neighborhood. So we had friends, we had the kids that were close and so on. So, you were brought up with neighbors. You weren't living in an apartment. You were brought up with neighbors that were close. Now we've got our home. It's, let me see. Can we see it over there? Let me see. You see the apartment buildings? At the end of the apartment buildings, there's a house. There's a white car. It's not ours. It's parked in front of it. That's where it is. So yeah, we have neighbors close, but we don't really have much contact with the neighbors. Probably more on our own than I've probably ever been, aside from, I mean, we have friends, but in the neighborhood. But we have the park. We've got the pond, which is just over here, and we're kind of like living in the countryside because we're just on the end of town. So just a little, like I was going to say, a minute walk away, we're at the end of the town. So it's nice. But to get back to the question was like, what do I think? I'm thinking like when we first lived here, we lived in apartments until we got the house, and it's almost impossible now for a young couple to buy a house. The prices have gone up so much in Switzerland. But I won't get into the detail right now, but we were able to. And but I was saying before I interrupted myself that we'd lived in apartments and we made extremely good friends. But we were lucky, because I know so many people that are telling me it's like hell on earth because they had horrible neighbors and so on. But we made some really, really good friends living in apartments. And the apartment we lived in for the last time we lived in an apartment was mostly people around our age, had children around the same age, and a lot of them are still basically in contact with each other, and we are still in contact with several of the people that we had as neighbors. So it was, my time in an apartment was, I would say, overall, and really overall, positive. But there always are, that there always is, or I should say there always is that person or those persons that do get on your nerves. So, you know, society is going right now into living together. I mean, over here they're really pushing extremely on densification, as they call it, because they say we're going to be a lot of people, and a lot of people got to learn to live together, and us bourgeois types that have our home all alone, you know, we shouldn't be like that. We should, you know, basically sell our houses so that they can build, so somebody can build an apartment or condominiums, make a lot of money either selling them or renting them really expensive. Anyway, something like that. But that's the way the world is right now. I was thinking though, when I was in university, we were just freshly married when I started my PhD period, and we found an apartment that was really close to the university. It was just like across the road. And so basically, we lived in a, let me see, we had a 4.5, well, they were all 4.5s, and there was a 1.5, as they call it, so a studio. Now, we were on the basement. Well, it wasn't really, it was like kind of like half, you know, we had normal size windows, but we were kind of like in the basement floor or ground floor, depending which side of the building you were on. And then we had people over us. Okay, but it was interesting because the way it was, we were on the ground floor where we were. That's right, we had a 4.5, the others had 5.5s. But we were on the floor with the 4.5, so a 2-bedroom apartment. And at a certain period of the time, my brother, depending on when he was in his studies, stayed with us. And there was a studio where there was an elderly lady. I thought she was elderly. She was probably my age. But at the time, we thought she was an elderly lady. She was single. Might have been divorced, not quite certain, but she was living alone. Then over us, there was a lady and her daughter. She was divorced. She was probably in her mid-40s at the latest. Her daughter was quite young. Divorced, but very active, if you know what I mean. Her bedroom was just above ours, put it that way. And she was very, well, her and her daughter were very good-looking ladies. Then on the top floor, there was a widower, and his son. Kind of amusing how things are, actually. And the widower and his son, the man was coming slowly up to retirement. I'd have said he was in his late 50s. So he wasn't quite retired yet, but he was, you know, slowly getting there. And the son was relatively young. So they were up there. And I was going to say, we all got along in that apartment really well. We were on the ground floor, and strangely, even though we were the young couple, I had this little hibachi barbecue, and I would make barbecues and invite the people over. So we would have parties in our building, but strangely enough, it was the young couple. But I do remember the younger man that lived upstairs. He found the daughter very interesting. That was amusing. You see like how things were. The older man, so the widower, he was too old, I would put it that way, for the divorcee. So you can see how it was like kind of dynamics. Everybody was looking out for each other, and everybody was looking what was happening at the same time. It was always quite amusing. But it was a good experience. We all enjoyed actually living in the same building, but everybody pretty much was, you know, I was going to say everybody was minding their business. We were the only students, but being university students, we often had people over. We didn't have overly wild parties. I have to admit that. We did not have overly wild parties, but we often had people over. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Just a little bit of life talking about that. So here I am walking around, and I just saw the time on that. So maybe I'm going to stop there. You know, sometimes it's kind of fun to just reminisce on bits of life. And like I was saying in the beginning, living in an apartment, living alone in living in a house, you know, there's really pros and cons to both. The society part or the social part of living in a friendly environment of apartments is really quite nice. But the privacy of living in your own home is really good as well, you know. So that's about it. And I see how the time is moving along. So I'm going to stop there. So, you know, tell me what you think. That'll be it. DC signing off. Take care, everybody, and have a good Sunday. Bye.